a devout nun, dedicated to her faith and the welfare of humanity. How high could her spiritual resolve go? Even in the midst of a brutal war, she found herself at the mercy of soldiers who invaded her sanctuary and treated her inhumanely. Despite losing her purity, the nun remained steadfast in her belief that her God would save humanity from its suffering. However, the soldiers' cruelty knew no bounds. In the days that followed, the nun was dragged to a brutal training camp, used for entertainment in horrific ways. Even then, her heart clung to her virtuous faith, refusing to falter in the face of such adversity. She held on to her belief that her God would rescue her and bring justice. During this time, she became a beacon of hope, supporting other women who suffered alongside her, encouraging them to stay strong. Every day she prayed and wished for salvation, trusting that divine intervention would come. Perhaps it was fate, for when a true celestial being finally appeared before her, the nun was speechless. Standing against the cruel demonic soldiers, the new godlike figure known as Sunrin was merciless in battle, demonstrating devastating strength and precision. Determined to save humanity from the clutches of demons, Sunrin even struck an uneasy alliance with one of the demon commanders. Their battles raged fiercely from alleyways to open streets, and even from underground to the surface. At first, Sunrin struggled against the powerful enemies, unable to gain the upper hand. But thanks to his immortal body and strategic brilliance, he gradually turned the tide of battle. The nun watched in awe, utterly stunned by the brutality of the being she had long revered as divine. She could never have imagined that the god she had idolized would be so relentless and violent. And when Sunrin, after exhausting himself, finally claimed victory. At this moment, the strange nun appeared. The demon commander, now on the brink of death, lay helpless, unable to stand. Even though she knew he was not human, even though she was aware that he was the one responsible for the war and the atrocities against humanity, the nun's moral standing remained unshaken. In her heart, she had never held anyone accountable. Instead, she shed sorrowful tears for the suffering of this demon. The god she once worshipped, now revealed to be nothing but a bloodthirsty monster, caused her faith to completely collapse. But on the other side of the battlefield, something extraordinary happened. A new divine being, Vitushian, was born. The creation of Vitushian required two essential elements: the collective will of countless humans and their desperate longing for salvation. At that moment, the conditions in this war-torn nation were perfect. The appearance, gender, and identity of this new Vitushian were shaped entirely by the strongest will and imagination of a single person. Thus, the nun herself became the model for this new divine being. The first to encounter this newly formed Vitushian was Sunrin, who was completely baffled by the situation. With her limited intelligence, she mistakenly thought that the new Vitushian was still the same nun from earlier. Sunrin, still recovering from her severe injuries, tried to act playful, but in the next moment, a demon suddenly attacked from behind. Seeing this, the nun, without hesitation, picked up Sunrin and fled without looking back. At that moment, Sunrin realized that this nun was completely different from the humans she had encountered earlier. She understood that she had inadvertently summoned a new divine entity. Meanwhile, the big brother of the escaped beasts, misunderstanding the situation, chased after them. Upon seeing Sunrin with the new divine being, he approached confidently, welcoming this new companion. This revelation even shocked Islin, who was on the other end of the call. Knowing that after decades a new ally had joined their ranks, they believed the future would be brighter. To give Sunrin time to rest, the idle big brother decided to return to the battlefield once more. As soon as he entered the city, the sight of a human nun walking through the streets amidst a strange, dark fog caught his attention. This peculiar scene puzzled him deeply. A human resembling a divine being with the appearance of a Vitushian was something he had never seen before. But before he could think further, a chilling, murderous intent struck from behind. Although the small monsters attacking him were not a real threat, the young nun beside him seemed displeased. He expected her to express gratitude, but instead, she unexpectedly slapped him hard across the face. As a true god, the big brother was left utterly confused. Even though he didn't harm humans, he felt that this woman would definitely become a huge problem in the future. To calm down her fragile heart and to ensure there were no distractions in future battles, the big brother decisively taught her a lesson. He slapped her so hard that she fainted. Watching this scene, I couldn't help but cheer. How big is the gap between the strongest demon clan member and the strongest Vidyadhara? This Vidyadhara, with vacant eyes and complete disregard for everything, is currently the strongest divine being on Earth, Ling. Ling, the only god who survived the God-Demon War 800 years ago, has experienced far more than anyone can imagine. Ling, alone and still in her childhood, was constantly engulfed by immense fear. Guarding the seal all by herself, she knelt for decades. Feeling utterly helpless, she even tried to escape this reality in a frenzy. But as plants regrew and animals began to reproduce, after decades of observing, she confirmed that the demons truly no longer existed. Only then did Ling dare to take action. Once her fighting spirit was reignited, it can even be said that she lost interest in everything. So, when the strongest demon warrior appeared before the crowd, Ling's heart still didn't waver in the slightest. During the rare opportunity of the holy ritual battle, the demon's think tank sent out their strongest warrior, Nico. At first glance, she appeared like a child, but the impulsive Dunrin, lacking any awareness or experience, walked straight up to her. Just as he was about to ask her identity, the next second. Fortunately, Vidyadharas cannot be killed. However, this sparked Nico's curiosity. What kind of torment would be required to completely annihilate her? Watching Dunrin being mercilessly beaten, Ling, standing behind him, finally decided to intervene. Her strength was simple yet pure, without any unnecessary flair or flashy techniques. But it was clear. The three current new generation warriors were no match for Nico. Realizing this, Ling ordered Isley to take Dunrin and retreat. She then engaged the strongest demon warrior in a one-on-one battle. Ling showcased absolute dominance in both speed and power. Her cold, emotionless demeanor embodied the ultimate strength to perfection. Meanwhile, Isley and the other two didn't dare to flee too far. They hid atop a nearby mountain, staying within her line of sight. They knew their abilities were still far inferior to the demons. If more than one demon was dispatched, they could easily become the next targets. Isley's cautious strategy turned out to be absolutely correct. On a mountain peak 100 kilometers away, a demon armed with a sniper rifle was watching them intently. He had his sights locked on the three new warriors. He waited silently, prepared to strike the moment an opportunity arose. The second there was a chance, he would pull the trigger without hesitation. The sniper demon had his sights firmly locked on the three new generation warriors. He stayed hidden, waiting for the perfect opportunity. The moment it arrived, he would definitely pull the trigger. Watching the intense battle below, Isley couldn't help but marvel at the current strength of the demons. As the fierce fight raged on, it suddenly came to a halt. With his mind always a step behind, he voiced his most pressing question.